Okay, good afternoon, students. Today we are going to discuss another topic that is DNA sequencing. In DNA sequencing, we will learn about what is meant by the DNA sequencing, and then we will have an deeper knowledge of methodologies that are adopted in DNA sequencing. So these three methods we are going to discuss today, like Maxam and Gilbert chemical degradation method, then Sanger and Colson method, and at the end we will be discussing automatic DNA sequencers. So what is meant by DNA sequencing? DNA sequencing means what? This is the DNA, and we all know DNA is altogether composed of nucleotides. That means if here are the bases, these are the bases, and above the bases, here we have the hydrogen bonds. That means we used to have, say, this is the base. This base is connected to sugar, deoxyribose sugar, and this sugar in turn is connected to phosphate. This is what is said to be nucleotide. And in DNA is all composed of nucleotides only. And the term DNA sequencing means either we call it as a DNA sequencing, or often we can call it as gene sequencing. DNA or gene sequencing. That means here we need to know the sequence of nucleotides which are present on the DNA. This is what is said to be DNA sequencing. Whether it is A, T, G, C, this is what is said to be the sequence of nucleotides, right? And these in turns are connected to sugar, and in turn is connected to phosphate. That is understood because DNA is composed of nucleotide. So here what we need to learn, we need to know we need to know the nucleotide sequence, and if we know the nucleotide sequence, it is very easy to go for the analysis of DNA structure. So today what we are going to learn, we are all going to learn how DNA structure can be recognized, and for the recognition of the structure, again I am putting focus like we need to know the nucleotide sequence. For example, we often say we are going for the molecular cloning. Molecular cloning means we are making multiple copies of a single molecule, say, for example. If we are to create multiple copies of any molecule, what is the basic criteria, or what is the basic need over here? We need to know its sequence. We need to know its sequence. Obviously, we need to know its sequence. Then only we can go for making its multiple copies. So when we when we talk about, say, when we talk about importance of the DNA sequencing, then it is required in terms of molecular cloning, because if we have the knowledge about the sequence that is present in a particular molecule, then only it is possible to go for multiplying its number, right? So this is a bit introduction. Now I will introduce you all with the methods which are basically utilized, say, for the DNA sequencing. In 1977, two methods were developed. One method was known as chemical method of DNA sequencing, and another method was known as enzymatic method. As the name itself is indicating, when we are talking for the chemical method of DNA sequencing, here some chemicals are treated, like DNA is subjected to certain chemicals, and after the chemical degradation, then the sequence is known about, right? Till that time, before I go into its whole history, we will just learn that the very first method was the chemical method, and since it was developed by Alan Maxwell and Walter Gilbert, so it is often known as Maxwell and Gilbert method. And here what is done? A DNA is taken because we need to know the sequencing of the DNA. So there are possibilities like to know the sequence of the DNA which is extending in the direction 5' to 3' or say in the direction 3' to 5'. When we need to know the sequence, it is not like it is to be retained. The DNA strands are to be retained as such as they are. We sometimes need to break it. That is said to be when the breakage is done with the help of chemicals, then it is said to be chemical degradation, right? Then once the degradation is done, obviously we are going to have various number of fragments with us, and all those fragments will be allowed to run through the gel. And once they will be running through the gel, since we are much familiar like DNA are negatively charged, so when they will be placed in the gel and when the electric current will be given, obviously they are to be loaded, say here is negative end and here is a positive end, because these are negatively charged. So obviously they are going to run towards the opposite charge, that is positive electrode. And when this whole gel is prepared, then in the gel we used to place a comb, and this comb is helpful in creating these wells. And within these wells, these fragments of different sizes, they are placed. When current is given, this gel used to have small pores like structure. This I have already explained you while I was going through gel electrophoresis, I think in your experiment. So there used to be pores in this gel, and whatever sample you have loaded, this sample will be moving through the pores and it will be reaching to the opposite electrode. Now, the ones the size of which is smaller, they will fastly move through the pores and they will reach to the opposite end. But where they will reach, like they will, how we will come to know up to where they have reached. Actually, there is formation of band, right? Then say if this is very larger in the size, because pores are of the same size, of course it will migrate through all the pores, but it will migrate slowly because of its heavier weight. Say somewhere it migrated till here only, and here will be the formation of band. Similarly, if it is of small size, it will migrate fastly through the pores which are present in the gel and which are due to the agarose, and they will be migrating towards the opposite end, and say somewhere here band will be synthesized. We often used to run a standard sample, and in that standard sample we used to have different bands, and all bands are of specific size. Say it is 10 kb, say 12 kb, and we know 12 kb band is of guanine. Just giving an fake example, say it is of guanine. This 12 kb is for thymine. Then we have 14 kb which is for cytosine, and then we have 16 kb which is the band that represents the presence of adenine. So wherever there will be the formation of band, that will be directly compared with the standard band, and we come to know what is present here. So see, sequence is actually to be analyzed. Now sequence is always read in this upward direction. So what is the sequence we have achieved? A, C, T and G. Since I have shown you here three bands, so it will be A, this is C, and this will be T, and somewhere if here band is formed, then it will be G, right? So this is the way like chemicals are, DNA is actually exposed to the chemical treatment, and after the chemical treatment, when we have different fragments of the DNA, these all fragments are loaded onto the gel, and under the effect of electric field, they start migrating towards the opposite pole. And the principle that on the basis of which DNA is migrating is that these are negatively charged, so these are they will be moving towards the positive electrode, and on the basis of their size, they will get separated from each other. So all the bands are getting separated from each other, and from here we can come to know like this band is consisting of adenine, this is consisting of say thymine, this is consisting of say guanine. So it can be like here no adenine is present, guanine is present, and here no thymine is present, here adenine is present. Any sequence can be there that at the end can be analyzed by gel electrophoresis. So this is what the very first method, that is Maxam and Gilbert method, which is often said to be chemical method of DNA sequencing. But what basic thing is done here that is very important is here DNA is actually labeled. This is the DNA, but what we have done, we have made a difference that the DNA which we are considering for the chemical degradation, it's either 5' end or either say it's 3' end, it is radio labeled. When we call radio labeled, that means we label it with the help of phosphate, that may be 32 phosphate. You all are much familiar with the isotopes, right? So it is radio labeled. Radio labeling is basically done to identify the ends. Suppose if here somewhere 32 phosphate is there, it is radio labeled, so it will be emitting some light, or it will be giving a certain say certain emission it will be giving, and on the basis of which it is very say possible, it is very easy to recognize like this one is the which part and so on, right? So one thing that is to be remembered here is like in this chemical degradation method that is developed by Maxam and Gilbert, here the double stranded DNA, either end of it they are to be labeled, right? And this labeling is done prior to the cleavage and prior to they are exposed to the gel for the separation of all the fragments. But if we talk in routines, then in routine this sequence, this method of DNA sequencing is not commonly followed. Because it is not commonly followed, so in the same year, another scientist came in the front, name of who was Frederick Sanger and his team. They came in front and they developed and another method where the chemical technology was replaced with the enzymatic technology, right? And this method is often referred to as dideoxy. It is often referred to as dideoxynucleotide chain termination method, and it is often abbreviated as di means D, D means deoxy, nucleotide means an nucleotide chain termination method. And you know it is never DDN, it used to be dideoxynucleotide triphosphate, right? I will be introducing to you with this DD and TP also. Because here what is the principle that is lying behind the uses of this method is like dideoxynucleotides. Wherever they get attached, at that particular point, chain will be terminated. So this is just a basic concept behind the two methods. We will be discussing these all in details also right now. But before I actually go in detail for this methodology that is said to be enzymatic method developed in turn by Frederick and Sanger and his team, I would like to introduce with the DNTP. Although I have already introduced you all with the DNTPs, but still I will go for its like revision. Like when we say DNTP, then it is deoxynucleotide triphosphate. When we say nucleotide, then nucleotide are of four categories. If we are restrict to the DNA, then those four categories include adenine, then cytosine, then guanine, and then thymine, right? If there are four deoxynucleotide, then obviously they are gonna to be four DDNTP also. DDNTP means see here it will be di-deoxy. That means deoxy is what? Deoxy name itself is indicating when we split the word deoxy, that means D stands for the removal and oxy stands for the oxygen. That means there is removal of the oxygen, and this removal of the oxygen is basically in the sugar, right? This is 5 carbon sugar. When here is the presence of OH, then it is said to be oxy. But when this oxygen is removed and left behind only H, then it is called as deoxy. This I have already told you to all. But now the term is not about deoxy, it is dideoxy. That means 2 times there is removal of the oxygen group. One is the removal from here, and here also normal configuration of the ribose sugar is like HOH. But even from here, O is removed and left behind only H, right? So this is said to be, because 2 times oxygen is removed, so it is said to be dideoxy, right? This is the main concept behind the enzymatic method. I just hope it is clear to you all. What is the difference between deoxy and dideoxy? Now I come back to very first methodology, that is all about chemical degradation method, that is conducted by Maxim and Gilbert. So here what is happening out in this Maxim and Gilbert method? This method was developed by Maxim and Gilbert, and in this method, DNA molecule, I will be making this diagram side by side here also. This is a DNA molecule. As I already said, it is to be radio labeled, right? So this is the DNA, and it is radio labeled, and here labeling is being done with 32 phosphate, right? Here labeling I am showing with the stars. So this is the labeling. If you are radio labeling 5 prime end, say 5 prime end, say if this is 5 prime end and this is 3 prime end, if we are going for the radio labeling of 5 prime end, then we need an enzyme for radio labeling, and that enzyme is said to be polynucleotide kinase. But if radio labeling is to be done at 3 prime end, then for that we need another enzyme that is said to be terminal transferase. I just hope this is clear to all. So in this method, very first step is the radio labeling of the DNA, and a radio label can be done either at the 5 prime end or either at 3 prime end, and which end is to be radio labeled, for that particular end we need a particular enzyme, right? Now I come back to the process. Now this radio labeled DNA, one end of the radio labeled DNA is to be removed. Although we have placed 2 radio labeled, like 5 prime end, if it is labeled in one stand, it is automatically to be labeled in another stand also. Now out of these 2 strands, one radio labeled end is to be removed, and you know we cannot go for removing without the action of the enzyme. So here we are using an enzyme. It is exposed to the action of enzyme that is called as endonuclease. Here we are going for the utilization of an enzyme that is said to be endonuclease, that will restrict this fragment. I am just supposing that this fragment is being broken into, say, two fragments only. One end is to be discarded, so that we have only one end as a radio labeled one. When it will be when it will be broken, then it is not always like with the help of the enzyme it will be breaking it at here only. It could break it somewhere here, it could break it somewhere here. So that means partial chemical digest are produced, right? Because this is chemical method, so chemical digest partial, that means this is not broken completely under the action of the chemical. Partial breakage is taking place, and that partial breakage can randomly include any nucleotide. It may be including only guanine, or it can be like it is including adenine plus guanine, or it may be including, this is random fragmentation that is taking place. Now, when we have random fragment, very next step is to go for the preparation of gel. Very next step is to go for the preparation of gel, right? So as I've already told you, this is the electrophoretic unit, where at the end is placed the electrophoretic, this gel is placed, and the gel has pores in it. This gel is placed. While the gel is soft, we need to insert a comb here. We insert a comb here so that wells could be created before it is hardened. So these all, whatever these all fragments you have, they all are just loaded here. These all fragments are loaded here, right? I have prepared only two because we have four. We have just said like partial digestion has resulted into the formation of four. So these are placed here. But before the sample is loaded here, it is to be denatured. Denatured means what? Double standards are to be converted into single standard. They are to be denatured. Then they are to be electroforced. That means they are allowed to run under the effect of electric current. Then they are to be detected because we need to detect the sequence and detect and then label the fragments by autoradiography. It will run, and say after running, say once the running of the fragments is taking place under the effect of electric current, say this is the this is what the bands that are being synthesized, right? This is autoradiography, right? Now we labeled, we removed one end, we purified this one, and we discarded this one. Then as a result of chemical degradation, we obtained partial digested bases. These are denatured. They are allowed to run into the gel, and see here somewhere standard is run so that we had this sequence. Now, because these are radio labeled, and whenever radio labeled is exposed to autoradiography, then it will be resulting into the emission of colors, right? So all the bands, they can be all these bands, they can be the sequence of these all bands, which can be very easily analyzed. Just a minute. So see here the sequence is like this is adenine. From lower to upper, we have to go for reading of the sequence. This one band stands for adenine. Just a minute. So this band stands, this lower band stands for adenine, then stands for guanine, then cytosine, and so on. So the sequence that we have obtained as a result of chemical degradation method, the sequence is in the direction 5' to 3', and this is the sequence. So if you know the sequence, like this is a sequence, you can easily multiply this sequence. You can make multiple copies of it. So this is all about, say, chemical degradation method, where we are all stressing upon the radio labeling of the ends of the DNA, and thereafter its chemical digestion. You must be getting confused with, like, ma'am, here you said like chemical degradation is being done with the help of say enzyme. But yeah, here enzymatic cleavage is taking place, but at the end these bases are to be cleaved. They are to be partially cleaved with the help of say chemicals. I let you know this also. See, so this is clear to you all, like one end of radio labeled double stranded DNA is removed. This is clear to all. This is also clear to you. Then I didn't discuss these points. I directly came to the procedure. where I said partial chemical digestion, when it is done, it is resulting into the generation of population of radiolabeled molecules, right? And these fragments are things of different sizes. Then they are separated by electrophoresis, and following the order of the fragments, we are having the sequence of nucleotide is detected, and later on it is interpreted. This is what is a basic process that is to be followed while one is going for Maxwell and Gilbert chemical degradation method. But here nowhere we discussed the effect of chemicals. So I let you know chemicals are all utilized in terms of purines and pyrimidines degradation. See, while we are in the direction to go for the completion of the process, here while we are going for the radio labeling of ends of the double stranded DNA, there itself on the side is to be modified a base, right? Base is to be modified, and there is to be done the breakage of sugar phosphate backbone. If you people remember, we are going for the DNA sequencing, and when we say DNA sequencing, that means the DNA is all composed of nucleotides. So whatever sequence that is to be analyzed, that is to be analyzed in three terms. You need to keep into your mind while you discuss nucleotide. That is, nucleotide is composed of three units. Very first is say sugar, then is base, and the third part is phosphate. These three are the parts of nucleotide. So what these together are making the DNA, right? This I have already elaborated you in my very first lecture while we were discussing the genomic content. So if I go for making a structure to make a concept into your minds, this is sugar. This sugar is connected to base, which can be purine or which can be pyrimidine. And here the fifth carbon of this sugar ring is attached to phosphate. This is phosphate, this is base, and this is sugar. Basically, here used to be the presence of upper side H and lower side OH. Here also H and here OH. But when we say deoxynucleotide triphosphate, then there from here is removed one H, one O is removed. One O is removed from here and left behind only H. And when we say dideoxy, another O is removed and behind is again left H. So here what is done? In this method, DNA is radiolabeled, right? And one end of the DNA is removed. Thereafter, this base is modified. Base is modified. I let you know how modification is to be done. This base is modified, and this sugar and phosphate bond, it is to be broken. This is to be it will be broken from here, right? It is to be broken. It is to be modified and it is to be broken, right? You must be thinking now, like if this modification is to done, then how we need to go for modifying this? There is no any specific reaction for the four bases, but the reaction is only for the base that is said to be guanine. Because we are having four kinds of bases with us. We have adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. But when we talk for the degradation of say bases which involve purine, then in that particular case, in the purine base, only G base is modified. There is no any specific reaction for the other three bases. That means we can call it as a G specific reaction only, right? So this is what this is base. Here they have not they have not demonstrated the whole structure as I have described here. They have simply written like this is a sugar, this is a base, and this is phosphate. And even in this 3' end also there is again going to be the presence of phosphate. Then we degraded this, we have modified this base because we said base is to be modified. So this base is modified by the treatment with the dimethyl sulfate that leads to the methylation of guanine. Methylation means there is the attachment of methyl group. Methyl group is not substituted here, that is in turn represented by the alphabet abbreviation, that is ME, right? Thereafter, they see we have treated it with the chemicals. Now see here is what this base modification is only resulting here. It is only the result of chemical degradation, and so is the name of the methodology, that is Maxam and Gilbert chemical degradation method, right? So once the base is modified and once there is the addition of chemicals, alkali treatment is actually given over here, that is sodium hydroxide, and later on is added piperidine, right? This actually leads to the breakage of the this base, that is ring is degraded, this is broken, and this is released, and left behind is only sugar phosphate, and this is again broken. This sugar phosphate backbone also we need to break. So this phosphate and sugar, they are all getting separated from each other. So this is all about say what we say, this is all about chemical degradation, right? So this is how purines are degraded chemically. But we also need to know how is the degradation taking place in terms of pyrimidines. So see, cleavage of purine mixture is separated in 4 sets. Each is treated with the reagent and which will be degrading G. In one set, we have added dimethyl sulfate, and methylation is taking place. So if C, because two purines are there, two types of purines are there. If adenine is located at a place of G, as I have see, this is the structure, no? If here this is otherwise guanine specific only, but if the methylation is taking place at 3' end, then this methylation is not of G. This is for C. Sorry, this is for A. And when methylation is taking place at 7' end, then it is basically for G. This is the only reason this is written here 7'. That is, this is indicating the methylation that is taking place at guanine, right? And then later on, when alkali and piperidine, this treatment is given, it result into the removal of purine or A or G. That means this is a reaction that specifically let you know whether A is present or whether G is present. Fine. So this is the cleavage of purine that I have already told you. Now we need to go for the cleavage of pyrimidine. And when we say pyrimidine, the word is large. That means it is consisting of single ring structured, that is cytosine and thymine. And here again, chemical, it is being discussed under chemical degradation. So we need to go here for treating with 1 to 2 molar sodium chloride. And there will be here in the purine we added piperidine. Here the hydrolysis is done by the addition of the chemical that is called as hydrazine, right? So this is what, here we have thymine. So after the addition of the hydrazine, this ring is hydrolyzed, it is degraded and released, and later on again we are giving that sodium alkali treatment that is resulting into the fragmentation of this sugar phosphate. So three things are only to be remembered while one goes for the chemical degradation method, that in turn is described by Maxam and Gilbert, and together it is known as Maxam Gilbert chemical degradation method. Here what is to be kept in mind? Very first is radio labeling of DNA is to be done. It is to be broken by endonucleases. Later on, bases are to be modified and sugar phosphate backbone is to be broken down. So this is all about Maxam and Gilbert chemical degradation method, right? With this, I just introduced you like once all the partial digestion of the basis is done, right? Thereafter, we used to run electrophoresis, and since these are radio labeled one, so they will be emitting the light that in turn bands will be created, and this is the way how sequence can be analyzed. With this, we complete our very first method of DNA sequencing, that is said to be Maxim and Gilbert chemical degradation method. Now I will be talking for the another method, that is Sanger and Colson method. Since this method was developed by Sanger and Colson, so on the basis of their name, this method is named. And another name for this method is di-deoxynucleotide chain termination method. And this di-deoxy I have already elaborated to you. You know, this is in the same year when chemical degradation, with the help of chemical degradation, we could not achieve much success. Then that method was further modified, and in place of that methodology, particular methodology, there been the utilization of another technology, another methodology, and that is said to be Sanger and Colson method, right? So this name of the Sanger, full name of the Sanger is Frederick Sanger. He and his co-workers, that is it all. In the year 1977, they developed another powerful method that was utilized for the DNA sequencing. But here, the need was only single strand of the DNA. In the previous, we were using double stranded DNA. Here, what we require, only single strand of the DNA is required, and this is called as template. Template is means which has the information and from where another copies will be synthesized. And here three basic requirements are: one primer is required, we require one enzyme, and of course DNTPs are required. So before I actually enter into the depth of this methodology, again I would like to make you all familiar with the structure of DATP and DDATP. This difference must be well known to you all before you actually understand the methodology, right? So see here, this is base, double ring base it is, that means it is purine. This purine is connected to sugar. Ribose, deoxyribose, deoxy, right? This is always 5 carbon, this is said to be 1 carbon. This is this point is second carbon, this is third carbon, 4 carbon, and fifth used to be here. This fifth carbon is further attached to 3 phosphate groups, and above it is attached to the base, right? So this is the reason it is said to be deoxynucleotide triphosphate. But here this purine is adenine. This purine's name is small, so it is double ring structure. Pyrimidine name is larger, that will be single ring structure. Okay, so this is adenine, this is the double ring structure is of adenine. So instead of nucleotide, here is written adenosine. That means it is referred as deoxyadenosine triphosphate. And C, this is 1 carbon, this is second carbon, and this is third carbon. If you could see at the third carbon, there is the presence of hydroxyl group. You know, when when the DNA is being synthesized, you know, this is required. This free hydroxyl group is required for the attachment of what we call primer. Because if you people remember in the while I was discussing with you all polymerase chain reaction, and I was letting you the formation of from one strand, I was letting you the formation of second strand. Then if you remember, I told you primer used to attach at 3' hydroxyl group. Now you could you could understand now what is that 3 hydroxyl group. This 3' hydroxyl group is actually required for the synthesis of primer, and here comes the enzyme, and enzyme start having the it start reading the sequence that is present on the single template, and then it keeps on synthesizing the another strand. This is what the basic phenomenon that takes place. That means if from the one strand, another strand is to be synthesized. I discussed this in PCR, if you people remember. If from one strand, another strand is to be synthesized, that means what is the basic requirement? The basic requirement is the presence of free hydroxyl group. And what free hydroxyl group? This 3' free hydroxyl group is basically required, right? So that here could attach the primer, and to the primer only will be attaching the enzyme, and that enzyme will read the sequence. If here it reads the sequence A, then it will attach T in correspondence to it, and so on. And in this way, another strand of the DNA is synthesized, right? But when I talk for the another, that is dideoxy, then there is no presence of free hydroxyl group. That means here O is now removed. So if O is removed, then there is no attachment of a hydroxyl group, and there is no going to be the synthesis of another strand of the DNA. That means wherever, see bacha, a very important thing that you need to remember is this is DNA. These DNA are denatured and they are converted to single strands, right? See, here will be attaching the primer, and to the primer will be attaching your enzyme. Enzyme purpose is to read the sequence, right? It will be reading the sequence. Say here it is A, and when another strand is to be synthesized, of course you require D and TP. Now that N can be anything. I need not to again repeat what that N needs to be. That N can be anything. If normally what is there, if it is here is A, then it will be TTP that will be attaching. But since in this dideoxy chain termination reaction, we have instead of addition of D and TP, there is often the addition of DD and TP. That means if I am talking for the A, there is of course the presence of DTTP, but there is often the presence of DDTTP. If this DDTTP it attaches here, then there will be continuation of the formation of another strand of the DNA. But if mistakenly somewhere got the addition of DTTP, then that will be the specific point where there will be the termination of the chain elongation. And even if now nothing could attach, because for the elongation of the reaction, what is required? Free hydroxyl end is required, and here there is no free hydroxyl end, so nothing could attach here, and as a result the termination will chain termination will take place. So this is the reason Sanger and Coulson method is called as dideoxynucleotide chain termination reaction, because wherever, if normally D and TP are getting attached one by one according to the sequence that is present on the template, then there will be the synthesis of the DNA. But wherever got the attachment of DD and TP, there will be no more progress in the elongation of the another strand of the DNA, and that will be the very particular specific point where there will be the stoppage of elongation of the another strand of DNA. So I just hope this concept is clear to all. See, this is what is written. This is the figure that is showing the presence of 3' hydroxyl group, and this is the figure that is showing the absence of a hydroxyl group, both from this and this, right? If any of the DD and TP binds, then chain elongation is terminated, because it is no more having 3' hydroxyl group, which is actually required for the chain elongation. And as a result, if no hydroxyl group is there, there will be no formation of this phosphodiester bond, and as a result, the whole elongation process will stop. So this is a detailed structure that I have already discussed. Now I will come to the process, like how this chain termination methodology is helpful in the how it is helpful in the analysis of the nucleotide sequence. Actually, what we have done before we actually go for we proceed with this methodology, we need certain requirements. These requirements I have already told you. Like very first, we need a template. Here, see what we have done. We had four. We are having four test tubes with us. This is test tube 1. Then we have test tube 2, 3, and 4. Right? And in this each test tube, somewhere we have added. In some tube, one tube is labeled as like here will be the presence of only adenine. Here is the presence of here it is written G. So G is here. Sorry. Yeah, this one is only G. Then we have the next one, that is a T. This one is T. And after this T, we have C. So here is the C. Right? So these are the four test tubes. These are the four test tubes. And each test tube, one is labeled with A, another is labeled with G, T, and C, because we have only four nucleotides with us. So these all can be labeled. And since we are talking for the DNA sequencing, so here within the DNA, these four nucleotides are only existing, right? Now, this each tube will be having, of course, because we have to go for the synthesis of another strand of DNA. So here we are going to have template as a single standard DNA only. In each tube we have added single standard template DNA. Then we have often added this primer, right? And of course we need for another DNTPs in correspondence to this, because they are to attach to the opposite in the opposite say what we call as in the opposite strand, that it should be synthesized, right? So these are the requirements before one proceeds with the Sanger and Paulson method. I just hope it is clear to all. So see, these are the, okay, I'll let you know this in the next slide. So here we have template. So template, to the template attaches primer, and here used to be the 3' hydroxyl group where attaches another DNTP. Now what we are doing, we are proceeding with the further with the reaction. See, here in the tube 1 we had D, we have added A now. We added here A. So here will often be added DDATP, because we need to know where the chain is terminating. Then we have added here, we had G, we labeled it with G. So here we will be adding the dideoxyguanine triphosphate. Here we have T, so here we will be adding this one. And here we have C, so here we will be adding this one. This is the single strand. Here, this is the primer. And D and TP are often required. Additional what we have taken here, DD and TP, right? Now, this enzyme is also added because DNA synthesis is always done with the help of the enzyme that is said to be DNA polymerase. So to each tube, after the addition of all the segments, we have often added DNA polymerase. We have often added DNA polymerase. Now, once the DNA polymerase is added, this is a single strand. This is a single strand, and in this single strand, there will be the attachment of primer. To the primer will attach. To the primer will attach enzyme. enzyme will say this is the sequence that is present above the single strand. Say it is T, say it is A, G, C. Other, I don't know the sequence. Just to make you familiar, I am just writing this fake sequence, because the sequence is only to be analyzed by us. If we before know the sequence, then what is the fun of going for DNA sequencing? We are going for the DNA sequencing because we are not familiar, we are not aware with the sequence that is present on the single strand template. This just for your understanding, I am mentioning, like here suppose T is present. Here we are having another parts like another constituents like D and TP, or we have D and TP. Okay, so when this single strand is available, primer has attached to the primer, enzyme has attached, so it will be reading the sequence and it will be attaching here particular nucleotide. Say if there is T, it will be attaching here A. If this DATP is attached, then it is okay. Chain will proceed in the further direction. Here will again attach T. But suppose if somewhere DD and TP got attached, that means if here got the attachment of DDTTP, then it will stop the reaction and there will be no further elongation of the chain. This is what is mentioned here. DNA polymerase is added as soon the polymerase enters into the reaction, chain elongates. Now, it is not specific like where it is going to be incorporated. It can get incorporated in the very beginning, or it can get incorporated after the attachment of 3 nucleotides, or it can attach after that, it can get itself incorporated after the attachment of say 7 nucleotides, or there can be the conditions that it is not attaching. So this would be better, you would better understand it with this example. See, where here we added DDATP, then we added enzyme. As sooner as the enzyme enters into the reaction, there begins the synthesis of another strand. But if DD, this is A, so this is A, so here this is the nuclear, this is the dideoxy, right? DDA. If DDA got itself attached in the very beginning, then the chain elongated only up to the addition of 1 nucleotide. Then there may be the chances like it is getting incorporated itself after the 4 nucleotides, or after the 7 to 8 nucleotides, or it can be like it is no more getting attached and the chain elongation is taking place normally. Similar is the cases with another one, right? So this is, I just hope clear to all, like within the reaction, DD and TP is randomly incorporated and fragments are terminated. How much longer will be the length of another strand that is synthesized from the template? It in turns depend upon the position of incorporation of DD and TP. So once the reaction is completed, what we need to do? So we had these 4 tubes with us, right? And in these tubes, reaction is now completed. How much longer another strand is synthesized? This we will come to know now from here. Now what is happening out? Once the reaction that I was showing into the previous diagram, once it is completed, once that reaction is completed, then fragment these all fragments, because we I just hope students you remember, like see these fragments I told will be synthesized here, these are synthesized here, these are synthesized here, and these are synthesized here. How many fragments will be synthesized? This in turn depends upon the incorporation of this DD and TP. Clear? So all the fragments of each tube, they are, now we need to separate these all, no? We need to separate these fragments from each other. Then how they will be separated? They will be, each fragment will be loaded here in the gel, right? And then when electric current will be given to this gel, so I just hope this is now more visualized to you all. So see all the fragments of this and this tube, they will be loaded into the wells, and these wells are in turn prepared within the gel. So, and all the fragments, whether there are 2 fragments, 3 fragments, or no fragment, they all will be separated by electrophoresis. Under the electrophoresis, larger DNA fragment will remain at behind only, because here within the gel there used to be the presence of pores, and through those pores only DNA molecules are migrating. The one, the size of which will be exceeding the size of the pore, of course it will also it will also migrate through the pore, through the gel, but its movement will be slower, right? So smaller fragments will remain at the end, and the larger fragments, smaller fragments, larger will remain at the end, and the smaller fragments, they will very quickly, very fastly, they will move to the another pore. So here one thing that I would like to tell you, like whatever these DD NTPs are used, these all DD NTPs are radio labeled, right? So see, right? So fragments are separated, this gel is dried, and autoradiography is done. Because we are doing autography, because we have used this DTNTP, these are of different colors. Like see, if you could see, here is color is somewhere orange, here is blue, and this is green, and this is yellow somewhere, right? So these gel is when dried and it is exposed to autoradiography, then radio labels actually what happens are actually the radio labeled isotopes, they actually emit color, because we have utilized these DD and TP of these are of different colors, so they will be emitting their particular color. And this is very much familiar to us, like if color given is red, then we are having A at that particular position. If the color given is blue, then we are going to have G at that particular position, right? So these bands are separated from each other on the basis of their size, and see now their sequencing can be done, because we know yellow one is going to be C, so here we have written C. We know a red one is going to be this A, so here the sequence is A. So this earlier what I was letting you know, I was giving you the sequence of I was giving you to the fake sequence of this, but this sequence is to be analyzed. That is what is said to be DNA sequencing, right? So this sequence is analyzed. Actually we are not analyzing still this sequence. We have analyzed this sequence because here there is somewhere the attachment of DD and TP, which are of different colors. And from those different colors, we analyze, like if the color is this, then it is going to be C, A, so on, right? I just go through reading the sequence. C because it is yellow, then we have red, that is A, then we have green, that says it there is going to be the presence of T, then again blue, that means G, again red, that means A, then blue, that means G, green means A. So this is the sequence in the direction 5 prime to 3 prime. But this is the sequence of the strand that is synthesized from the template strand. And actually we need to recognize the sequence of template strand. So once this sequence is recognized, it is very easy to go for this analysis of the other sequence. Why so? Because another sequence is going to be the complementary. Another sequence is going to be complementary, of course. C, if there is C, then obviously we are talking for the DNA sequencing in the DNA. we only have C, G, T, and A. If in the another synthesized strand there is the presence of C, then obviously here is going to be G. If here is A, then T. In this way, from the with the help of DD and TP, from the newer strand synthesized, we could recognize the sequence that is present in the template. This is what is known as DNA sequencing, and this is the DNA sequencing that is done with the help of Sanger and Coulson method. That is totally an enzymatic method, right? So autography is done so that the position of different bands, because all the bands are having radio labeled 5' end, so this lane is observed. But one thing is there, see, if you remember, see here we often had the bands where there is no attachment of A. This will not be visualized in this electrophoretic gel. This will not be visualized here, right? Because there is no attachment of the radio label, so it is no more visualized, and this is a sequence that we will be finding out, because this is the sequencing that is done with the help of DDNTP. So where DDNTP will get itself incorporated, there only we will be analyzing the sequence, and that will be the exact sequence, right? This is all about Sanger and Coulson method. So this I have already dictated you. Last one is the automatic DNA sequencers. This is very easy. Automatic means since the earlier methods are little bit slower, so we are using the automatic DNA sequencers. Here what is done? Here the DD and TP are not given any specific color. Instead of giving them color as was given in Sanger and Coulson method, to them are attached different colored radio labeled fluorescent dye is attached to DD and TP. Instead of radio labeling it, dye is attached, and dye will give the color now. This is automatic, so somewhere here software is also attached for the fast analysis. So each difference is what? In the recent method we were using fluorescent dye, we were using radio labeled isotopes, but here we are going for the use of fluorescent dye. So concept is based on dideoxynucleotide only, but the difference is dideoxynucleotide are attached with the fluorescent dye, and this fluorescent dye is going to give uh, different color to all the fragments to which it has terminated. So this is again template. We have again added here DNTP, along with the DNTP, DDNTP are attached, enzyme is attached, and but the difference is here we have attached fluorescent dye of different color. If it is of blue, then adenine is going to be there. If it is red, then thymine, and so on, right? When the reaction will take place, then see, these are the fragments which are produced. What is done here? Now instead of electrophoresis is only conducted here for the separation of all these fragments. But uh, this electrophoresis is carried in this capillary action for more fastly progression of the electrophoresis. So here this is the first step. All DD and TP are added to this single capillary, and this capillary is actually the refinement of more fastly. If we want electrophoresis to take place, then this is what we call it as, we take this single capillary tube, right? So here DNA fragments of different colors are separated on the basis of their size. Again, current is to be given, of course, because the DNA is not going to migrate until unless it is given electric current. So when electric current will be given, DNA will start migrating to the opposite electrode. Of course, smaller will migrate faster and vice versa. And actually now here one more thing that is to be taken into mind is all fragments of given length, all the fragments whose length is same, they will move in a single peak. Then the fragments of different length will move in different peak, because here analysis is done on the basis of peaks, right? So this is important point. Like all the fragments of given length, they are going to migrate in a single peak, and these all peaks will be illuminated with the help of laser beam. When laser beam is there, whatever color is present in the peak, due to this presence of DD and TP, they will emit light of a specific wavelength, and this light of specific wavelength will be recorded by a special recorder, right? See the here when it is running, gel is running, then there is the in the monitor we could see this is in turn connected to the computer, and the movement we could see in terms of peaks, right? Then when these peaks are when exposed to say these are exposed to laser beam, then normally we could not see here the color because no laser beam is given here. When the laser beam will be given, it will represent the color in the peaks. And because we know blue is for the sea, so in this way we could go for sequencing it. So it is computer generated electrogram. So here, just a minute. So the DNA sequencers are read by determining the sequence of the colors from the specific peaks as they pass the detector. Whatever information is fed is present, that is directly fed to the computer, and with the help of the electrogram, we will be capable of analyzing this sequence, right? So this is the way color of each dye represent the different nucleotide, and computer converts the data on the basis of light that is present in the nucleotide sequences. So in this way, we are capable of analyzing the sequence C, A, T, so on, right? So these are the three methodologies by which we could go for the sequencing of the DNA. And sequencing, why it is required, because if we need to go for the molecular cloning, then we need to have the information of the sequence with us, then only we can clone anything. Of course, bacha, if you need to prepare any multiple copies of something, that something sequence must be known to you, then only you could go for say multiplication, right? If you don't know the sequence that what is to be multiplied, then you all are going to waste your time, and you are just going to hit something in the dark. In the dark, that means you are not having the information, and of course you are just waving your hands in the dark, and in that particular direction when you will be moving, you will not be able to go for the cloning, right? So this is bacha all from my side, and here I complete your today's topic, that is all about DNA sequencing, where we have discussed the three methodologies. One is the chemical degradation, second is the enzymatic degradations, and the last one, but not the least, that is automatic sequencing, right? So thank you. This was all from my side, and stay home and stay healthy.